Welcome to Rising from the Rubble, the podcast where we share real life stories of people who have faced life-changing events like burnout, redundancy, and depression, and found a way to rise stronger than before. I'm your host, Maria Newman, and as a coach, I help individuals navigate life's toughest transitions. Whilst listening to this podcast, you'll hear inspiring stories and coaching insights that will empower you to reclaim your confidence, redefine your future, and rise from your own rubble. It's now time to sit back, relax, and enjoy listening to our episode. Hello, Kat, and thank you for joining me today.
Hi.
So, what makes your story meaningful to others?
I think the biggest thing is learning that life doesn't come in a neatly packaged box. You can have all of the plans in the world, and as we go through this, you'll learn how much of a planner I was. And sometimes life throws you curveballs, and actually it's about learning to deal with those curveballs in a different way. And I think the biggest thing is, like, I'm still learning, but if I can do it, anyone can do it. So I think, taking that away, and being a bit cryptic there. So having a disabled child is the biggest thing for me, and balancing that career with still being me as well as being a carer.
And who will benefit the most from hearing your journey?
I've written loads of answers to this, I'll be completely honest. Biggest thing is mums, let's be honest. And I don't want to be that kind of stereotypical, it's all about the mum power, but mums, especially mums of additional needs children, because once you get that, or once you realise that your child is slightly different, the world takes on a different meaning, and it becomes very tough. So I think that's going to be the biggest, but we'll generalize it to parents of additional needs children, I think, just to be correct.
And what's the most important takeaway from your experience?
Be you. And that is really hard. Like when you lose yourself during this journey, and we'll talk about that a little bit more, but trying to be you and remain positive without being falsely positive. Like, you're allowed to have those dark moments, you're allowed to have all of those things. That's something I've had to learn, because my biggest driver is be strong. So I've had to learn to embrace those dark moments and embrace the journey a little bit. Just because life hasn't turned out exactly the way you planned, you can still nail it.
And on that note, Kat, who are you and what is your story?
Gosh. So I'm Kat. I live in the northwest of England in a little market town called Sandbach. I live with my husband and my little boy, and already alluded to, my little boy has a rare genetic disorder. So he is now 5. So I was that typical career-driven lady who was going to have 2.4 children, live in a nice house and still be a career lady. And Callum, bless him, came along 5 years ago, and that all changed. So I've had to learn to pivot a little bit and embrace something that's very different to what my thoughts of my life were going to be. The rare disorder Callum has is called NARS1 disorder. There are only 100 known cases in the world, so it's extremely rare. So this journey can sometimes feel a bit lonely, because you don't often get to see other parents of the same child as you. I have recently set up my own business, so that's a pivot in my career. I never wanted my own business, but when life gives you this, life gave me a choice at the end of last year. I was extremely burnt out. I was trying to hold down a stressful career, be a carer, be a mum, be a wife, all of those things, and it just wasn't working. So it was actually my husband who sat there and said, well, you've built businesses for other people, why don't you do it for yourself? I said no. And here I am. So in April this year, I did launch my own marketing consultancy, and that's kind of where my journey's taken now, it's given me that flexibility. I haven't had to give up my career, which at one point I thought that was going to be the decision, like go and be a full-time carer. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So taking you right back to the beginning of
Mhm.
when you had your son, and the first few weeks, everything was okay.
Yes.
And then,
So completely normal pregnancy. Um, he measured small, but they weren't worried about it. He came out completely normal. I had preeclampsia, so I was the one with all the issues at that point. But yeah, he passed all his tests with flying colours, all of those skin prick tests that they do at the beginning, the hearing tests, like flew through them. For the first 11 weeks, it was COVID. But me and Dave thought we were absolutely nailing parenting life. We were like, this is what are people moaning about? This is really easy. Like we were like, this is great. At 11 weeks old, Callum had his first seizure. So tiny little baby, full on convulsing seizure. I went into full on panic mode. I'd never phoned an ambulance in my life, but I had to do that whole phone an ambulance thing, getting blue lighted to the hospital. And that then set us kind of on a path of right, there's something not right here. Um, he then started to miss milestones. I ended up hating the word milestones for a long time because like he didn't sit up, he didn't crawl, he didn't clap, he didn't do any of those. The only thing he did was smile. That was the only milestone he hit, was smiling. Um, and yeah, as he got older, more and more things started to build on that. So initially we got a diagnosis of epilepsy, but then as he started to miss his milestones, um, they investigated a bit more, but all the tests came back normal. He then had real issues with feeding, so lost an awful lot of weight. Ended up being fed by an NG tube, and now he's fed via a peg, which is a little hole in the tummy where you connect a tube to it. He had heart surgery at 9 months old, which was lovely and scary. The thing I learned about hospitals, so at that point he'd had 3 surgeries on various things. Because it was COVID, it was always me who had to deal with it. Dave wasn't allowed in. It was very no, like we're all being safe. You've got to do this on your own. Fine, you accept that. The worse the surgery's got, the more Dave was allowed in. So heart surgery, Dave was allowed in. So that's how you know it's bad. But he came out of that fine, got discharged from cardiology, but was still not hitting his milestones. And when your child doesn't hit milestones, you get referred to somebody who's called a community pediatrician. And they basically do lots of assessments about what your child's developmental age is, where they're up to. Cerebral palsy was mentioned at that point because they still didn't really know what was wrong with him. And yeah, she sat us down and I was like, "Oh, well, he might just catch up." Like you have that in your head. He's going to catch up. He'll be fine. He's just a bit slower than other kids. And she sat there and went, "At this stage, he's not going to catch up. We don't know what it is, but he's not going to catch up." So that was the first tough blow that you get. And then just after his third birthday, we got the diagnosis of NAS1 disorder. Um, so yeah, it's then a lot of trying to read up on a disorder that's not really very well known. We meet consultants and you say he's got NAS1 disorder and they've got no idea what it is, what it means. So you very much have to be that advocate of this is what it is, this is what it means. There's a great charity called the Rory Bell Foundation who are funding research into NAS1 disorder and hopefully finding therapeutics and a cure, and getting information out there that's easier for parents to digest because all of the stuff that was out there when Callum was diagnosed was very scientific. And unless you understand kind of cells and the intricate details, you get lost. You read the abstract and you go, yeah, I don't know what that's saying. I've got no idea what you're saying to me right now. So yeah, they're great. And from there, it's just been a bit of a journey to understanding Callum and this new life. Yeah.
So, whilst you have been going through what you've been going through, what are some of like the feelings, the emotions, the thoughts that have come up for you whilst
Goodness.
you've been in like no man land? Because for obviously for a very long time, you hadn't even had a diagnosis.
No. Oh God, there's all the feelings. I think what you go through is the stages of grief. So you go through that kind of denial, like, oh, this is not happening. This is like he's going to be normal, he's going to catch up. Um, you there is the obvious sadness, and the sadness then comes with this guilt because Callum is an amazing little boy. He's incredible. We're very lucky to have him. And but sometimes you feel like, "Oh, I wish, like, not I wish, but like what would life be like if he was normal?" And then you feel guilty for having those feelings because you've got an amazing child there, and there's this constant battle between um like what you thought versus what you've got now. And I don't know if you've ever heard of it. There's I think it's a poem. It's called Welcome to Holland. And it's written by a lady. I think she must have had a child with disabilities. And the essence of the poem is basically when you're pregnant, it's like planning a holiday to Italy. You might learn some Italian, you read up about where you're going to go, where you're going to eat, what you're going to do. You get on the plane, you're all really excited, you land and the pilot goes, oh, we're in Holland now, and you've planned for Italy. So it's like, and it's not that you've gone somewhere that's horrible or that you've gone somewhere that's like in war. It's just different, and you do end up feeling like I don't want to wish for that. But then you see, especially in the beginning when Callum wasn't hitting those milestones, I had all of the NCT mum friends, and I found it really difficult to watch their kids crawling, starting to talk, starting to walk. And Callum wasn't doing any of that. And I found it really difficult. So I did segregate myself for a long time. And we just lived in our own little bubble because I was like, I can't deal with watching your children. I'm very pleased for you that your children are doing that, but I can't deal with that right now. Um, and then you feel guilty for that because you're like, these people are really nice and they're trying to be my friend, and I'm just pushing them away. So yeah, there's a whole range of emotions. But then on the same token, Callum, now he's 5, is starting to hit some of those milestones. So then you do get that kind of, he's just learning to clap, which is like, I never thought I'd be so happy about a child learning to clap. Like the things you like end up celebrating, or like he puts a spoonful of food in his mouth, like the celebrations for that are incredible in our household. So yeah.
It's really nice to hear that you are focusing on all like the good stuff because, as
Yeah.
you said, it would be really easy to go down a path of, oh, this is not what I thought life was going to be like.
Yeah, and I do think that's part of my personality. I mentioned at the beginning, I've got a very big be strong driver. That is my biggest driver in my personality. Um, but also, like, I have to be there for Callum. Like, I have no choice. He's my child. And if I give up and go down that dark road, who's going to advocate for him? And I think that's probably the biggest thing behind it. And there is nothing wrong with having those dark moments. I am outwardly positive always, but I have those dark moments. Of course you do. And like that poem that I mentioned before, I have seen people on social media slate that poem because they are like, well, it is like going to a war torn country. It is like, and I'm like, but it's not. You have got a child who is my child is okay. He NAS1 disorder is not degenerative for the most part, so he's going to live a life. And I suppose that would be very different if you get a diagnosis where there's an age limit on it, or whatever. That might, you might feel different. But then for me, you've got to live with what you've got and make the most of what you have got. And it is hard. It's hard arguing with consultants. It's hard arguing with doctors who know nothing about your child. When Callum first had started having seizures, in my gut, I knew something was wrong, but they were like, oh, it's normal for children to have seizures. Well, it's not, is it? It's not normal. Like, it's not a normal thing to happen, but it is. One of my friends messaged me the other day, and someone she knew, her twins had started having seizures at the same time. Twins were having seizures, and obviously you become that person when somebody, like, because they know Callum has seizures, you become that person, don't you? And they were like, oh well, they've just told her it's normal, it's stress. And I'm like, I wouldn't accept that. She needs to go and get another opinion, especially because it's the two of them. Like, if it was just one, like, okay, leave it a few weeks, see what happens, see if another one occurs. Yes, it's awful to wait for a seizure, but because it's both of them, I'm a bit like, no, like, advocate, come on. And it is hard sometimes. You do have to argue and be that difficult parent that you don't want to be, but it's your child and you know your child best.
And this is like a key point, whether whatever your situation is, as the mum in particular, sorry, dads, as the mum in particular, you do know what's best for your child.
Yeah.
And it's having the courage and the confidence to go, yes, I do know what's best for my child, and I'm going to stand by what my gut is telling me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have come a long way in 5 years. Like, if I think like 5 years ago, I was this scared, like, whatever they said went. Whereas now I'm probably a bit more of a nightmare mum, because I'm like, nope, this is what's happening. This is what's like, and you do, you become a hospital mum. So you get to know the, like, you get to know the rules and where you can bend those rules, and where you can sidestep something to get what you want. But it's really hard because they're the experts. But what I've learned in this is the experts actually don't know an awful lot, especially when it comes to neurological conditions. The brain is still a bit of an enigma to people. They don't really know everything that goes on in there. So yeah, you have to really, really push and advocate for your child.
So, from what you've told us, you are a really positive person, and I've
Yeah.
been around you enough to know that you are a positive person. However, you have also mentioned that there are, and there have been, those dark moments. So,
Mhm.
how do you manage those times? And have you got a support network around you that can help you as much as you helping your son?
Yes. So the support network I've got is incredible. I'm very, very lucky. Dave and I are quite strong as a unit. I think we're quite sickening as a unit, and that might upset some people. But that is really hard. You see parents in this situation where it tears them apart, because it is, you have to have each other's back when it's tough. So I'm one, very lucky that we are such a solid unit and we trust each other to make those decisions. Um my parents, Dave's parents, again, incredible. We're coming up to things now where my parents are aging, and they can't lift Callum like they used to, because he's heavy, he's 5, and he doesn't walk, so he needs carrying. So there are things like that, but they'll still support in every way they can. I've got an amazing group of friends, as has Dave. So yeah, we are very, very lucky that we've got that huge support around us, and it does make a big difference. Um, in answer to the questions around the dark times, how do I deal with them? I'm quite a closed off person when it comes to dark times. So for all my outward positivity, I tend to deal with the dark on my own. And there are things like, sometimes I just need some space. Just give me space to wallow and let me. I don't want to. Um, One thing I've really learned throughout this journey is people will always, they'll tell you their story and they'll go, but it's not as bad as what you've got. And I'm like, it doesn't matter. Like, everyone's heart is different. So somebody will say, "Oh, my child had RSV and we ended up in hospital, and it was really tough." And they're like, "But I know it's nothing like what you've been through." And I'm like, "It doesn't matter. You've only done it once. Like, for me now, going into hospital second nature. Like, it's not actually that difficult for me anymore." So yeah, it's dealing with those dark times. It's, you've just got to find your own coping mechanisms, haven't you? Like, what works for you. I'll cry in the shower. Who doesn't love a shower cry? Like, but that is where you, like, that's where I do it. Is it's where I let it go. And yeah, and then I can come out and be like, right, okay, I'm back on it now.
And I think that's the thing, isn't it? We'll all have curveballs thrown at us where we're at that point where we're like, oh my word, this is really difficult. And like, to use your words, excuse me, everybody's challenges are different, and it's not about comparing what I'm going through with what you're going through with what the lady down the road's going through. They're all our own challenges that we have to deal with. However, those emotions that come up need to come out, otherwise actually we feel worse.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. And that is something with my personality that I find very difficult, like letting those out, having that outlet. And it's something that I've had to learn to deal with. And like that support network does make a real big difference. When Callum was first having all of his seizures, it got to the point where I was scared to take him out in the car. Because I was like, what do I do if I'm driving and he has a seizure? Like, I couldn't get my head around what I do. Like, what if I was on the motorway and he starts having a seizure? And so I we became quite housebound, which is really sad. And my mum, bless her, was like, "No, we're going out. I'll sit in the back with him. We're going out." Like, and she'd make up excuses that she needed to go somewhere and I needed to take her, just to get me out of the, because it was really hard. And it is, I remember the epilepsy nurse right at the beginning of this going, "This is hard now, but you will get used to it." And I was like, I am never getting used to this. I am never getting used to my child having a seizure. Like, it's horrible. And you do. I'll drive everywhere now, and sometimes I look in the mirror and go, "Oh, he's having a seizure. He'll be all right in a minute," and just keep going. And some people will be like, "What?" Like, but you do. You just get used to it. You just get used to that. This is our normal. So yeah.
Wow, wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. Wow, it's a big one. So I'm going to fast forward you forward to April of this year. Now,
Yes.
when I speak to people, mums in particular, who have decided to start their own business, it's usually a lot simpler in the sense of either they've been made redundant and they're thinking, well, I'm just going to go out on my own because I've been given this opportunity, or they're a mum who just wants to be able to manage life on her terms. And
Mhm.
actually, starting a business means you can be more flexible with your time. Yours is sort of a bit different with some undertones of the same. So tell us a bit more in detail about getting to the point of, right, Kat's going to start her own business and she's got all this other stuff that she needs to deal with.
Oh gosh. So the flexibility part was a big part of it. That's the biggest undertone, let's be honest, in this. And unfortunately in the UK, probably across the world for a lot of it, um, working mums kind of get the short end of the straw. They're expected to be a mum and not give up, not drop any balls there, have a career and not drop any balls there. And that's tough in itself. And then you put in some of the, so Callum can have 3 or 4 hospital appointments in a week, right? Not all the time. They tend to come in clusters, but then that then puts on this added stress of like, oh, I've got to now go and ask if I can have time off for that hospital appointment, or I've got to go and you're constantly thinking. And as much as places perhaps want to be family friendly, they also want people at their desks from 9 to 5, and that doesn't work for people like me. It doesn't work for the majority of mums. Um, Now, I always openly say, never wanted my own business, never had any ambitions to own my own business. I think that stems from my dad being self-employed when I was growing up, and that feast and famine, like we either had money or we didn't. And I just, that was not something I ever wanted. I'd pre-kids been really career driven. I'd set myself milestones. I'd hit every milestone. I was going to be this by this age, and I was going to be, and I'd done it. And I was on the leadership team of a growing agency. It was a busy agency, and unfortunately, they just couldn't be as flexible as I needed them to be. And I was burnt out. I wasn't being a great employee. I wasn't being a great mom. I wasn't being a great wife. I think the only thing I was managing to do was be a carer and make sure Callum got to every appointment and had his right medication at the right time. So something did have to give, and I was doom scrolling one night on a parent carer forum, 2 a.m., like you do when you can't sleep and you're just scrolling. And I was like, there's got to be another way. And because we'd looked for a nanny so that I could keep, so we'd looked for a special needs nanny, could not get one. They all wanted behavioural, which is fine. They didn't want such complex needs as Callum. And I was like, there's got to be a nanny somewhere. And there was just scrolls of women like, oh, I gave up trying to find a nanny. I ended up giving up work. I'm now just a full-time carer. And honestly, there was just page after page of these women. And I was like, I don't want that. So when Dave gave me the kick up the bum to say, look, we can do this, I had a 3 month notice period. So it was like, we'll just save that 3 months worth of salary. And if it doesn't work, we'll figure something else out. So yeah, and beginning of the year, handed my notice in, got put on gardening leave, which was quite nice. And then yeah, just decided to go for it. Like, and that was really hard for me. Like imposter syndrome's there. You have those feelings of um I'm not as good as I used to be. Like that your whole persona changes, doesn't it? When you become a mum, like your whole persona changes. Like I was probably a little bit too ruthless pre-children. I was that career driven alpha female. No one's gonna get in my way. Like, and you become a bit softer. And unfortunately for me, that becoming softer meant I did get chewed up and spit out by some people in my career, and that took its toll on my confidence. So it was that thing of, oh god, now I'm on my own, I'm doing this, and I've got to go networking, which is where we met, and I've got to tell my story. And then it's like, how much of this story do I tell? Because I don't want people to work with me because they feel sorry for me, like, but it's an important part of like why I've started my business. And I am very open about these things, that like it's a bit like, and trigger warning here, I'm going to say the word miscarriage. It's a bit like when you have a miscarriage, right? You don't know how many people have been through it until you put it out there, and then everyone's like, oh, that's happened to me, that's happened to me, that's happened to me. You're like, why are more people not talking about this? Why? Like, so yeah, it's been a journey. I've set up 9 Yard Marketing. I have worked my little bum off trying to get it off the ground. It's going all right, and it has given me the flexibility I wanted. Like the summer holidays, I wouldn't have survived. I would not have survived working for someone and doing that, because there is no, and another big issue in the UK is there is no wraparound care for children with additional needs. So we do not get holiday clubs. We don't get before and after school clubs like normal kids do. So it does all then come down to the parents to deal with this. So yeah, it's going well.
And I think so. You very much are a role model for anybody, regardless of their situation, who is at that point of wanting to make a change and is having cold feet. And
Yeah,
actually, anything is possible if you want it to be possible.
yeah. And I said no. Like I said no.
I
But
like
then
the fact that we keep on reiterating, Cat never wanted this, and yet look, you've done
yes,
it.
I'm here. I said no, and it is a big part of it. Like, because you do meet people when, especially when you start your own business, you meet people who have gone through similar journeys to you. And some of them are like, oh yeah, I've always wanted my own business. Like, I think it's really important to say I didn't want this. This is not what I wanted. But actually it's the best thing I've ever done. And sometimes you do have to take that leap of faith. Now I'm really lucky. I've got a really good support system around me. I was able to take that leap of faith. And I don't want to be this like beacon of positivity that like not everyone can do, but there will be smaller steps that people can do to, and sometimes you just have to take that leap. And I am a big believer in fate, and what will be. And I think you've just got to, when life throws you a curveball, you either duck to avoid it or you swing to hit it. And there you go. I've swung, and I'm hoping for the best.
Oh, you've done what Jamie keeps on telling people. You've been more buffalo, and you've just run into the storm.
I've been more buffalo. Yeah, there you go.
If anybody wants to know anything about that, just read up buffaloes and you'll find out what they do when a storm comes.
Yeah.
We're not going to give that any more airtime.
Sorry, Jamie.
So we are coming to the end of our episode together. However, I do have 2 questions left for you. Okay. The first one being, what 3 things do you want people to take away from this conversation?
Oh, that's a tough question. 1, you can do it. I think that's the biggest thing. Like, we all suffer from imposter syndrome. I don't think I've met anyone who doesn't. And you can do anything you put your mind to. Would be the biggest one. The second one would be, just because life doesn't look like what you planned, it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. You build with what you've got, and just take the positives out of it. Like, Callum was put on this planet to teach us all a lesson. That's what our family say, because he was put on this planet to teach us all a lesson, and you have to take that away from it. And 3 is, where possible, try to be true to yourself. Don't lose yourself in this journey, because it's so easy to do. It's so easy to shrink yourself to fit to other people, or maybe put on a front that you don't feel comfortable with, or whatever that is. Just try and be true to who you are, I think, would be the final one.
They are 3 great things to take. So on that note, Kat, there will be people listening and watching who either are on a similar journey to you, or they're thinking, I'm a business owner, I need marketing support. Be one or the other. How can people connect with you?
So from a business point of view, LinkedIn. So I am Kat Woolrich on LinkedIn. My business is called 9 Yard Marketing. 9yardmarketing.co.uk for the URL for that. And then on a personal level, Facebook and Instagram are probably the best. So Cheshire Cat W is the Instagram handle, and on Facebook it's just Kat Woolrich. So yeah, they're probably the best ways to connect with me. And I'll always try and respond and help people if it's not from a marketing point of view. If you come through 9 Yard Marketing, that's absolutely fine.
Well, thank you very much, Kat, for sharing your story and being so honest and open with us.
Thank you for having me. I've really enjoyed it.
You're most welcome. And thank you, everybody, for listening and watching. Thank you for listening to Rising from the Rubble. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe, leave a review, and share it with someone who needs to hear this. Also, remember to download your free life assessment. Just click the link in the description to get started. Take care, and remember, every setback is an opportunity for growth. I'll see you next time.